Hello friends, you're the Lonesome Gamer, and I'm still playing Empires of the Middle Ages. It's the year 900, and let me see, 75 is that one, 80, so I think it's the year 986 right now, and well, we've seen the blue player attacked by the Muslims and the Germans, and he's in a real bad shape and he's probably going to lose. He only has an income of 3, and if they consequently play this together to the end, they're going to kill this guy. That's, I think, pretty much for sure. The English player or Irish player is in a pretty good shape here. He managed to establish a solid, well, prospering empire, I think we can say that. It's not super rich, but it's doing fine. And now he's heading here to Scandinavia. Of course, the Byzantine player is the dominant player in the game. There is no doubt here. He's doing his own thing here. He is now moving into the Balkans. And basically all of his areas, except for Sicily, are in a very good shape. All of them have a positive social state. Most of them are at the maximum here. So he's doing fantastic. And yeah, we'll see how this turns out. It seems like maybe even the yellow player might be able to recover. I mean, at the moment, these two guys are focusing on the French player. So therefore, it seems like the guy from Verona can recover a little bit, and maybe he will stay in the game. We'll see. We had again a monastic revival as the event of the French player. So everyone was allowed to place cathedrals, which is especially helpful for areas like this, where we have a -3 rating, for example, and you have a language modifier negative, which is negative. So the Spanish player has built a mosque there. We also see a cathedral here in Flanders, or one here in Norway, for example. The blue player is in the bad situation that, I mean, he pretty much had the best leaders, so he could choose when to go. And usually it's good to go more at the end, because then you can react to what the other players do and you can keep your cards for defensive things and so on. But in this case, he didn't have any money, so he needed to generate money, and now he keeps the cards, and he had to play one card. But yeah, he now has only $3, 4 cards left. So, well, actually, what he can do is he can. Oh yeah, and he actually, I think he played a rule. No, he didn't. He played a rule action here, which brought it down, and he can try that again, maybe. Yeah, so that brings us up 1 space again. So it's or one point. So he's now at a +1 here. But now he has exactly 3 cards. He's got $3. There's not a lot he can do otherwise. And it's looking worse and worse for him. And we witness now here really the growth of an empire. Ireland becomes bigger and bigger. They control now whole Scandinavia and the British Isles or the Irish Isles. And yeah, it's hard, you know, I mean, it's hard for someone else to attack there, because it's at least mostly a different language. I think this is Lorraine. Okay, that would be, at least for the German player, these areas would be of a related language. But in addition to that, they have to cross the channel, which costs an additional buck. And these are all pretty rich areas, some of them with fortifications. So an attack there is not easy. In addition to that, this, for example, has a 2 population, so you need 2 successes. And yeah, we will see in which way this develops. If they will tolerate this guy much longer, or if they at a certain point say, okay, stop, wait a minute, you are getting too big there. I mean, in a way, the Irish player he was kind of careful enough not to take Brittany, for example, or not to enter here Normandy, for example, which is now definitely weakened because this guy is just a weak player. But you know, if he has a foothold here on the continent, and in a way he has that now with Scandinavia, but this is still, it feels a little bit away. But if once he's here in this area, you know, people might get afraid and it might feel easier because there is no channel to cross or so to do the attack. So therefore, there is this psychological factor that he says, you know, I'm gonna keep away from these areas and you know, let them feel like I'm far away, like I'm maybe not too big, and it worked fine as long as he just was on the islands here. But now that he's here in Scandinavia, people really see, oh boy, this is now a real power, and he is clearly number 2 after the Byzantines now. And there's also something going on now here. Finally, the guy managed to recover himself, and I forgot to draw an event card. Okay, that's the papal intervention. If the player controls the Rome area, he may add +3 to anyone ruling or diplomacy endeavor per player turn. The card is kept until the player gains a -1 result. That's kind of cool. So we might actually take Rome. But I'm actually considering... I'm not sure if I want to take Rome first. Maybe I want to take Lombardy first. I mean, I can still take that later. There is no... It's a ruling or diplomacy area. Okay, action. Okay, so there is no hurry, I think. I can still take that later. And I think I want to try to get this. And we see now we can generate quite a bit of income here. So first I'm going to do taxation in Tuscany. And I was successful there. So that gives me 4 additional bucks. So now, and I have quite a bit of money. So now I can try to take back Lombardy, for example. I need 2 successes to do that, so we're gonna spend 2 bucks. And then, well, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, with a combat rating of 1, that really sucks. On the other hand, I mean, I got quite a bit of... I think I'm gonna go for it anyway. So we got a... I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, I could also try to do some diplomatic actions. I got a pretty good diplomacy value here. So maybe that's a better thing to do for now. I could try to get a tie here to Tuscany, for example. Yeah, I think I prefer to do these things. Yeah, I guess that's a better idea. With a 1, this pretty much sucks. So there was no success here. Maybe I should risk an attack next turn. It's only a combat rating of 1, but still, I mean, if I want to take Burgundy, I should maybe do it, otherwise there is a risk that someone else takes Burgundy, and that would be a shame. It's a very rich area. So I think I should try to get this here. The Byzantine player had a pretty bad turn. He managed to do some, he had an epidemic which reduced a lot of his areas, because it reduces each area in an empire with a positive population rating. And there were some here, some in Italy, Constantinople, Cilicia, Asia, all that dropped down one. And he did some ruling which went fine, more or less, but then the taxation was really unsuccessful. He ended up with 4 unrest markers here, and maybe we should have done the taxation first, but okay. So now it's the German player, and he did a ruling in Bavaria to get rid of the unrest, then he did taxation, so he has now 4 bucks. That's not a lot. It gives him basically the option to attack twice. He's hoping a little bit for the help of the red player. So we'll see what we end up with there. But okay, I mean, we want to attack Champagne. We need one more success to get it. This player has 3 bucks, and I'm not quite, I got 3 cards. Okay, I'm not quite sure if I want to actually defend or not. I mean, this area is worth nothing anymore. However, at the moment, nobody's reaching Ile-de-France. But, yeah, or not nobody, but at least the German player is not reaching Ile-de-France. So this kind of blocks his way there. Still, you know, maybe I should keep my money and defend these 2 areas instead. It seems like this would make more sense. Yeah, otherwise I'm pretty sure if I spend my 3 bucks now, or 2 bucks to hold that one, I'm gonna lose Normandy. Possibly. Though it's harder to take. We got a fortification there. Yeah, maybe I can keep it anyway, because the attacker is very weak. He only has a 3 combat rating, while the other guy has a 4 combat rating. It has a better social state. So it's going to be hard for him to take that one. Also different religion. For him it's much more likely to take Champagne if I don't defend. So maybe I will defend. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And he already spent 2 bucks. Now let's see how much I have at the moment. I got a 5, minus 1 is a 4, plus 3 brings me to a 7. Minus 2 is exactly a 5. So if he spends this, I'm at 0. Does he want to spend another buck? Well, hard to tell. He could. Then it's definitely not a success. But then nah, I don't know. I think, no, I don't want to do it. I want to use my 3 cards. So let's see what we get here. If I get a C, it falls, and it does indeed. The target loses 1. The base also loses 1. But I have now Champagne. And we're going to roll for the cathedral there. If it remains on a 1 to 3, it does. No, the cathedral is destroyed, sadly. And now we get Champagne here. It is in a very bad shape, but it is definitely something I was eager to get for quite a while. And I think I want to try to plunder Ile-de-France. So that doesn't even cost me anything. I got a 5 Let me see, it's going to be fairly easy, I think, because of the 3 population there. So, but that is reduced, or is even out by this this one here. So that means with the social state, my attack value drops to a 4. Okay, so the guy spends a buck, and that means he can defend himself against the attack, but it also means that the leader dies. That was a pretty good combat guy. Okay, no success here, of course. And he's going to roll for a new leader, and we'll see what he ends up with. So, an absolute disaster. He ends up with a 1 combat rating here. So, yeah, that's pretty much it then for him. I might even consider doing an attack now against Ile-de-France, though it's pretty rough. Yeah, that's not going to be easy. Champagne is just so weak. I mean, I could also try to rule. Hard to tell. I think I'm going to try another plunder action instead. So, he's not going to defend himself. It doesn't make a lot of sense with a combat value of 1, obviously. And actually the base drops down. And by the way, there should be a unrest. So I actually have to roll now. That's fine. And with my last action, I'm going to do a rule action there. Although I'm not sure if I can do that. It seems like I cannot. Because this is a different language, so I gotta spend $2 to make that even possible. Otherwise I'm in the negative here because of the -3 modifier and the different language. That's a -5, and I only have an administration rating of 3. So let's see, and sadly it's not good enough, but it's good enough to get rid of the unrest here. Okay. So that's it, we control Champagne now, so it's now up to the other guy to get at least Normandy, and then we'll see where this will go. I'm pretty sure we'll see a soon end for the French player here. Now we probably see the attack from Anjou against Normandy. It's not going to be easy. We have a 3 combat rating. We have a -3 value here, so that is 0. We attack Normandy with a +2, which is a -2 then. In addition, we have the fortification, so it's a -4. Different religion and different language. It's not a different language, it's a related language. So we have a -7. That's pretty rough. However, this guy has only a single card and a leader value of 1. So he's not too impressive here. So I'm going to spend $2 anyway. I'm at -7. You know what? I'm going to throw in all my money. I'm going to throw in these $15. And I'm trying to just make it. Maybe I'm lucky here. So what can he do? Well, he can spend $1. So with the $15 -7, I'm at +8. He throws in $1, and wow, his leader died, which is definitely good for him. So he can subtract 1, which brings him then to which brings me to a 7. And I got my last card here, or not my last, but actually I got 3 cards left here. So, but I only have 1 shot, obviously. So we are at 7. And that's a success. A C result here. So that means a -1 at the target, which is a little bit of a shame. But anyway, it's still a positive value, which is good. And this is destroyed. The area becomes Muslim. according to my house rule here, because it also works the other way around, following the normal rules with these Spanish Muslim guys. And we get an unrest marker there. And now I'm actually considering to... Yeah, I think I want to rule. I'm not even sure if I can rule. Well, I got an administration rating of 5. So ruling is not a big deal there. And yeah, that's fine. It even goes up to a +2. That's definitely neat. The unrest goes away. And I got one more card left. And I'm going to rule here in Valencia, I guess. And that sucked. It's a -1. No, actually it isn't. It remains the same. Okay, cool. And we're going to roll for the new combat values of the French leader. But he has now only one area left. And that one is heretical, so he's not allowed to take his court and move here, because it has to be the same religion. So if this area falls, which will be the case pretty soon, I guess, then he's just done. So he has a 3, I assume, as a combat value. Yeah, exactly. Administration is a 3, and that remains a 5, so it's a little better, but not great. Okay. Okay, so it's now the next turn, and probably the last turn for the French player. You can never be sure, but it really doesn't look good for him. His problem is he has a leader of 11, but the other 2 guys also have a leader of 11. So, and because they have a greater territory, they can decide when to go first. So the Spanish player decided to go first, and the idea is that he's going to plunder Ile-de-France, and then if it's in a very bad shape, the German player tries to take it out. And the problem of this guy is he doesn't have any money left, so he cannot defend himself even though he has cards. Therefore, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, in a way though, yeah, it's a tricky situation. Yeah, I think we're going to do it like that. It seems reasonable. So let's see what the event for the Spanish guy is. Wow, holy crap, we have a comet. That will shake things up. I mean, I'm pretty sure it won't, the comet will not be an omen that the French player survives here. But we could see some massive changes on the board. So I'm going to do all that stuff off camera. So that was pretty stupid. What happened basically is we've seen, I think, 2 years of plenty, then 3 years of famine. Basically, I had to undo everything that I've done before. So there you feel really pretty much like an idiot. And not much too interesting happened. The leader again died airless, the French leader, so in addition to all this trouble, we have now also unrest in the area, and his leader is even worse with a combat rating of 2 now. So finally, we can start this. His problem, though, is that he also has now nearly no income because, or very little income, let's say that way, because of this, these years of famine. Anyway, he can try to plunder from Normandy, Ile-de-France, and he's going to do that. So yeah, he doesn't have to pay anything here. And I think he has a -1 modifier or something. Let's see what we get here. He gets definitely money. Yeah, he should get money. So let's roll a die here. That's bad. I think that's nothing. Yep, that's nothing. But anyway, This drops to a 0. And I think I'm just continuing here. Well, it will drop further to a -1 now. Let's see if I can find that stupid marker. Shit. There we go. There we have a -1. And again, he's got a chance to get some money. And again, he rolled a 1, so no money for him. And he's going to do another one. And, well, a 6. I don't think he has a 6, although I'm not sure. You add this, so he would be at 6. Plus 2 is an 8. -1 is a 7. And it's a similar language, so it goes to a 6. So yeah, he actually gets money again. The target drops to a -2. So yeah, let's see if he gets money. And this time he does. He gets $3, which is pretty cool. Okay. Nice, and I'm going to use my last 2 cards to rule the area and maybe then get a better income. Okay, I lost my good leader, my good fighter. I'm down to a 2-1-5, which is totally horrible. So it seems like it takes me a little more to do this. I have a partial success here, so that's a start. The other guy doesn't have any income, so yeah, I mean, all he can do is try to rule or something. Okay, we're starting a new game round and also a new millennium. So it is now the year 1001. And that means we are about 1/3 through the game or so. Oh my god, maybe a little more. But wow, I don't know. I can never promise if I'm gonna push through this one, but I'm gonna try to get as far as I can without dying of boredom. But I must say the last rounds were kind of enjoyable. There was a hard time about 100 years ago or so where I was already close to finishing this, but now it's getting better. And things, things change now a little bit. First of all, the Vikings and the Magyars will not show up anymore. We already had that. But from now on, it is possible that a magnet in Syria could show up. I think there is a 1 in 6 chance every game turn. And that guy will be pretty strong. He would have a combat rating of 9. So that would be then the big threat for the Byzantine Empire. And yeah, they somehow have to deal with that, possibly. And they have a lot of money, obviously. But you know, you can only spend so much to defend yourself against that guy. On the other hand, they can, of course, also attack. And this guy only has $1 for defense, or he only keeps always a single card only for defense. So that means simply, if they play that cleverly, they usually can solve that problem, I assume, by simply spending enough money. In addition to that, there will be the option for them to call for a crusade. That is possible. That means that the other players, the other Christian players, will have to help them. However, there has to be a crusade parley, so they need a majority there to do that. Of course, they could also use money and try to try to buy some other votes or something. But then they might as well use the money to defend the magnet directly. I mean, I cannot see a big difference there. In addition, if they should go for this kind of for a crusade, that would mean that the Crusaders would march through their country, and that would mean that the provinces the Crusaders would march through would lose social state, and probably quite a bit. So therefore, I don't know if it's really a good idea. It's probably more reasonable if this should be a weak, for some reason, if that should be a weaker empire. Let's assume they would lose for some reason big parts of their empire, maybe a division of the empire or whatever. Then it might be some kind of last desperate act to hope for a crusade and hope for help from the other players. So I have my doubts that we will see that, but you never know. So I'm gonna start a new round now. Very bad news for the Irish leader, or the Irish player. The leader died airless, and I've made a bunch of bad rolls, twice a 3, once a 12, and all England fell into a revolt, and it's all lost. All these rich and great areas are gone, and that sucks. There were claims. In 2 of them were even castles, so that really sucks. He invested a lot to get those, and they're now all gone. That is really painful. And I want to continue now rolling how it looks in these. Maybe if I continue like that, he might even lose more. Oh boy. Wow, that sucks, man. It's a different language, so there is unrest. Plus the different language, that brings this to a 7 on the unrest table, and that is clearly another rebellion. So it looks like he actually will lose half his empire because of that. And yeah, that's a complete disaster here. There is absolutely no doubt about that. What about Sweden? I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a 4. That's again a 7. And it's a 4, indeed. So we have a complete rebellion here. His whole empire falls apart in one fucking turn. And oh gosh, this is absolutely horrible. I mean, he's nearly now back at the point where he started. He had this massive empire, which he couldn't even enjoy because of any scoring rounds or so. Maybe just once a little bit, but not with the new stuff in Scandinavia. And now it all rebels. That is horrible. So we got another +2, and I don't have the markers for that, I'm afraid. Great. Yeah, there are always not enough markers here. That's definitely an issue here. Let's take these 2. Oh boy. And finally we see Denmark, and well, let's see what we get here. Oh, that's a 10. That remains. Okay, that was a disaster. And that is the big risk if you take areas which are not of your language. There is a good chance they will rebel. I mean, he had in some of them he had fortifications that improved his odds, but still, wow, I mean, that was just a total disaster here. So that will keep him busy for quite a while. Here, a lot of things to do. And there is, of course, a chance that some other players now will take the occasion and try to grab some of these areas too. Especially for the German player, that's tempting. These are very rich areas. On the other hand, he's not interested in another conflict right now, I guess. But yeah, holy moly. Well, at least he ended up with a fair leader, a 5. The 2 isn't too great. But now, of course, the important thing is the diplomacy. The other problem is there also was a year of famine in the area. So that means that Scotland and Wales were reduced. So they don't give any income. So all he gets is now 1 income from Ireland. That's all he has. Anyway, he managed to put a little bit aside. He's got $8. So at least he can try to attack now these areas here. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's see. We want to take Northumbria, I guess. So we have a 5. We attack from here, and we attack Northumbria, which has a rating of 2. This one here applies to all 3. So we are at 3. Different language brings us to 1. That ain't too great. So I'm gonna throw in $3, I guess. I don't even know if I can afford to do that. Maybe I should. Shit. Yeah, I will. So I'm then at 4. Okay, let's see. And we made it. It was worth the investment. At least we managed to take back Northumbria. And we don't even lose a lot here. And that's good, because that gives us, again, a little more income. We got to go for Mercia now. And we're going to spend $2. And this time my odds are a little better because I can attack from here. But actually, wait a minute. I might reconsider that, because there is an unrest here now because I took it. So I want to rule first. And that was good. That's a +1, so that means the unrest is gone. And now I can do the attack from there. So I'm going to spend $2, and this evens out with that one. So I'm at 5 minus 2, that's a 3. I'm going to go with that. Maybe I'm lucky. And I am. Awesome. So the bad luck I had is now a little bit evened out by these good cards here. So we're allowed to take that back. Okay, that was the easy part. Let's say it that way, because here we need 2 successes. And of course this is a +2 area. So we need 2 successes there, and I'm going to rule first here in Mercia. See if I can get rid of the unrest, and I did. So let's try to do an attack there now. I could also try to take Norway back. Maybe that's a better idea. Or maybe even Sweden. But that's tricky, because I had to go from Denmark there. I think I want to take Norway, because I can take that with a single action, and then I could go for the with the taxation right away. Yeah, I think I want to do that. That costs me $1, an extra $1. Let's say it that way. We got to spend. Let's say I spent these 5. So that means I got to spend 2. I got to spend, overall I spent now 6, okay? So I got to spend 3 for the base cost, and then I can, let's say I'm going to do it from Mercia. So I got a combat rating of 7 then. -1 is 6. -2 for the language, that's 4. I think I'm fine with that. So I'm going to take back $3. And I'm gonna use my last card. Okay, that didn't work. Sadly, we also lose now 1 here at the base. That wasn't too great. And then I'm basically at the end of my turn, I'm going to do some taxation. If things go well, I get an income of 4, which sucks, of course, considering I was, for a short while, more or less the richest player, except for the Byzantine guy. It is kind of ridiculous. But if I'm lucky, I might be able to come back in a few turns. I mean, at least I got these 2 provinces back. That's a good start. In the last turn, we've seen some pillage actions here from this guy, trying to go against Anjou, and so he wasn't successful. But anyway, I mean, these 2 guys, Spanish player and the German player, they're really pissed off by this one. So the Spanish player is actually willing to help the German player once again to get these 2 successes, which will be necessary to wipe the guy out. So we got 3 cards left, and now we're going to invest some money here. So first of all, I got to spend $2. I only have a Comet rating of 3, and I get a -3 modifier here, which sucks obviously. So I'm at 0. This is at -1 at the moment, so that brings me to a +1 then. But it's a different language, so I'm at -1, which isn't great at all. So I gotta spend quite a bit of money here, so I'm gonna throw in basically all I got. That brings me to 5, and this guy says, you know what, I'm gonna throw in 3 more to bring it to an 8. Now let's see if that's good enough. And it just is. Holy shit, it just was good enough. That's an 8. So that means this is the 2nd success now. And now I got a feeling with the help of this guy, we will be able to finish the blue player off. We need 1 more success. So he's basically paying him. He says, okay. And actually I think that drops. No, the base would have dropped, but that is already at 0. So at -3. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm at, what? I think I was at -1, right? So that's a +1. Yeah, I was at -1. So he's going to pay 2. And then he's going to throw in another $9. And we're going to try that again. It's a lot of money, but hey, we really want to finish this sucker off. And this time it worked. Awesome. That's it. Blue is gone. I mean, he's not exactly gone, right? He'll come back. That's the thing. We'll allow him to come back, obviously. But at least here, this is now it. And we are, of course, good friends now for quite a while. That's pretty obvious. The church is destroyed, sadly. Let's see about the palace. Maybe the palace can remain. And yes, it will. That's kind of neat, because that allows us to do a rule action in all areas where we have a palace. Sadly, this is the only area because we lost our home territory. That kind of sucks. Anyway, this is now at a -2. Okay. Let's see. There we go. A -2. And because this area has a different religion, it's heretical, we will not allow that player, the blue player, to go here. So what we're going to do, and this goes a little bit away, it goes completely away from the rule book. We're going to really destroy his family. So we're going to remove all the claims here. We're going to remove that one too. That becomes now independent. So we place a, what was that? Was it a +1 or a -1 marker? I think it was +1, but I don't really remember. The unrest goes away, and that area remains heretical. Okay, now here's the thing. If it's now Blue's turn, I'm going to allow him to come back in a complete new area with a complete new language. Usually what happens is you end up in exile, and if for some reason there should be a magnet, or you somehow manage to diplomatically recapture a single area, you can come back in this area or in a new area where the magnet appeared. But honestly, I don't really think that's a great idea. It seems to me that Blue is so weakened now that I wonder that even if he should show up for some strange coincidence in an area where a magnet appeared, he would be very, very weak at that time. And I don't know if I like that idea. In addition to that, I think it's pretty cool to see these empires showing up in different areas, in areas where we haven't seen anything happening now, so that it's not always the same structure in Europe. So for example, here in the east, and that's exactly what I want to do. We have a pretty good area here in the east. I'm going to allow him to start a new empire, exactly more or less the way like we start a new empire after the death of Charlemagne. So that means if there is an empire with the same religion, which covers 3 areas and the same language, like for example this area here, or these 3 areas for example, then I will allow this player to take over. And because it's a pagan empire, I'm also going to come up with some special rules there. I thought about some house rules here too. And yeah, it seems like we're going to see a pagan empire like we've seen a Muslim empire here. These are all things that are not covered in the rules, but hey, who cares? I think it's kind of fun and I'm going to do it anyway. So that also means, on the other hand, that this conflict is now settled, and I have a feeling that we will see now maybe a fairly long era of peace in Europe, at least to a certain degree. There are these neutral areas here, like Burgundy, of course up here, Wessex, Norway, Sweden. The guy wants his empire back. Burgundy here, and there are also these areas, Venice and Rome. But the interesting thing is that basically of these 3 powers here, Spain and Germany and also Verona, only the Spanish player has kind of the resources to enter a new conflict. He still has quite a bit of money, and he's got a, well, at least kind of solid economy here, although it's not really excellent. There are still lots of room for improvements here. Still, I think also he is not too interested in expanding too much. If he can take out, let's say, 1, 2, these 2 areas, maybe even Brittany, then he's basically fine. You know, he has then a big empire, nearly as big as the Byzantine Empire. He might even have the richer areas, so if he can rule a lot there, if he spends time to improve these areas, he might become the leading power here. I'm not absolutely sure about that, but at least he comes close to the Byzantine guy, and that is so that is fine for him. So he's not exactly willing to expand even further here. As I said, the German player doesn't have that many resources. He really has to try to improve his empire. Or this western part here is in a very, very bad shape. Most of it is at -3. And apart from that, there is a lot of room in the east. And therefore, there is not really the need to search the conflict with these guys. I mean, of course, that point would have applied before too. He could have gone in the east before, but there was always this kind of feeling, yeah, you know, maybe we can destroy a few of the other players, and there were these really rich areas in northern Italy or in France. So that was kind of a real, yeah, I want to go there. I want to take out that player, and maybe I can do a lot of points there. But here in the east, it's definitely a very interesting area too for the German player. And the northern Italian guy also has its options to expand. He can grab Rome, he can go into the Balkans. The only problem here is maybe a conflict with the Byzantine player. I can see that, but at the moment, he really doesn't have the resources to go into a war with anyone. So therefore, I think we'll see an era of peace now, and yeah, maybe we won't see that much happening in the next turns, which is not so bad for you, because I will simply not show it, but I might have to play quite a while without too many actions, but then again I can play that a little quicker. On the other hand, this guy here, who will come up now, actually, no, there's the Spanish player first, but then I can start him over there. He can expand quite a bit. That's definitely one thing he wants to do. So, we see now here the new empire that is risen in the east. Muscovy, Smolensk and Kiev. The court is in Smolensk, and it's a pretty strong area. These are really good areas here. So the thing is now that the religion of this guy is pagan, and I already said I come up with my special rules here. So the thing is that the areas of the same language that he has, they are also pagan, but they are his kind of pagan. So this is all one religion, okay? But it's all pagan. And then these other pagan religions are different religions, like the rules say. So the thing is now, if the guy draws a card, the heresy spreads card, if he draws that card, then that simply means for him that his court area will become Christian. It will become Roman Catholic. Some guy, I don't know, from the West went there and managed to, I don't know, make the Queen believe that Jesus is the real guy, and yeah. And therefore, then the court and the court area will become Roman Catholic. From then on, the player has to convert one of the surrounding areas of his home country, and if he does that, then all the areas of that language also become Roman Catholic, and he gets the points for that. And he can do this with all with all the other areas of his kingdom too. They will remain pagan until they are then converted. So that's kind of a disadvantage if you start a pagan empire. However, it gives you the option to gain some points, and that is also kind of cool. The only question is, when will he draw that card? That can take a while. Until then, this guy will pray to the birds. Or to the, I don't know the word for that, cow? Yeah, he might pray to the cows. Okay, and now he can play his 5 cards and yeah, simply start all over again. I'm going to give him a starting income of 10, like that also happens in the usual rules if a new empire starts. And yeah, we'll see what he can make of that. I think he's in a pretty good shape over there. I also allowed to rule him for a new leader. And I took here the starting values 3, 3, 3 and then rolled on the table. He ended up with a 3, 1, 3, which is pretty bad. Still, he's going to try to attack now Novgorod here. So he's going to pay $2. Let's see where we are. We got a +2 modifier. That is so we got to subtract 1 basically. We've got a 5 - 1 is a 4. And I think I'm going to go with that. See what we get. And that's good enough. Sadly the target loses 1. But he's allowed to take the area. And now we might even go here. Problem is, of course, we have here different religions and different languages. So it gets a little harder there. I could also try to take this Ryazan. It's not that rich. Not sure right now. Not too much happened in the last turns. Last 2 turns, I think. We have a Comet now, so a lot of new event cards showed up. And here we have now a new card of the epoch here, the growth of seagoing commerce. Each player immediately receives 1 commerce marker at no cost in any home of seafaring people's area he controls that has a social state of +2 or more. Okay, so by the way, a leader died again here in Ireland, Alice. So he ended up with all the unrest, but this time he was more lucky. At least there were no revolts. So I think the commerce simply brings you. Let me see what that does. It's in these expansion rules here. Effects of here. There we go. You get an additional buck. But it doesn't count against the taxation value when it comes to rebellion. So that's pretty awesome. And but it's only where the seafaring people are. So for example, here in Norway, the guy can place one of these markers here. That's one of these commerce markers. So that is now placed here. That makes the area more valuable. The same applies to Denmark. Let me see where we got that. There we are. Lombardy is another one that I can see here. Of course, here Constantinople. This is an incredibly rich area. I think it gives now 5 when you tax that. And you don't even have to roll for revolt, simply because it's the court. I wonder where else we might find something like that. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think there are no more. Venice is neutral, so we won't place that one. Guess that's it. Sweden is sadly also neutral at the moment. So yeah, that's probably all. So at the beginning of this turn, a magnet appeared here in Denmark, and he took Sweden, but it wasn't easy for him. And when attacking Norway, the other guy did defend himself, and actually he's had to spend an extra buck for that, because he had to defend across the sea. And now there's a lot of work to be done for the Irish player. He's got 4 areas in unrest, and he's got that magnet to deal with, and he only has 4 cards left. So there's now the question: does he want to try to take on the magnet right away, try to eliminate him? That is definitely possible. He's got a very good combat rating here. But then there are all these areas here in unrest. Still, I think I want to try it. It's fairly easy to do. So I think first I'm going to attack here against... I mean, it's not that easy, is it? From Norway, I might end up with a... No, I think first I want to rule in Norway. So let's see. Yeah, that worked out. Very good. There we go. Unrest goes away. Nah. Well, maybe I should first restore order in my country. I think that makes more sense. Actually, I forgot. Also, at the beginning of this turn, we had another scoring round. And I mean, it becomes completely obvious now that Byzantium is extremely powerful. They have nearly double the points of the second player, which is red. Byzantium scored 94 points. They are now at 318, and red scored 56 points, and they're at 186. So this is really impressive. But then the other guys are not too far apart. Blue, of course, lost a lot, but they started their new area, and therefore they weren't doing too bad. At least they scored 27 points, 167. And then it's the white player. He didn't achieve too much. He basically scored the same number of points as he did before, although he conquered all these new areas here. But they are worth nothing. There are no claims there, and this is a -3, a -2, so he doesn't get any points for that. His empire is in a pretty bad shape. He ended up with 152 points now. And the green player was kind of unlucky. A few turns ago, he could have scored a lot of points. He still did well, but not great. He's at 125, but he scored more points than white, and that is definitely interesting considering where he came from. And of course, orange is completely fucked. I mean, they just scored 10 points. 34 overall, no hope for them. So, still thinking, I guess I want to first restore order in my empire. So I'm going to rule in Wessex. Actually, I'm not even sure if I can do that. I got a rating of 2 here. Couldn't I rule in Norway? That's a good question. I guess I couldn't. I had to pay for that. So I was at 2. I had to pay a buck for that to be at 0, and I had to pay an extra buck because it's overseas. Now here, actually I can bring this to a +2. That's something. makes it also harder for the other guy to attack. Now if I want to rule here, I can do it without paying. But here I have to pay quite a bit actually. So I'm going to rule in Wessex. And that worked out, and the good part is the guy dies. He has a very bad administration rating, so that could help. Although his combat rating wasn't bad at all. Let's see. That's a 6 in combat, so that brings me to a 3 here. Administration. That's awesome. That might be a 9. I think it is. Yep, that's a 9. Fantastic. And finally, diplomacy. Oh, look at that. That's probably also a 9. So this is a fabulous leader right now. That will help definitely to restore the empire. The only problem is he has now to defend himself against the magnet. But okay, I mean, by the way, did we manage? Yeah, we did get rid of the unrest in Wessex. I'm pretty sure we can do that. And now I'm gonna rule in Mercia. And this time, of course, I don't have to pay anything for that. That worked out. That's a +1, so that goes even up to +3. Very well. And eventually I'm going to rule in Northumbria, and that also worked out well. Fabulous. So that was pretty well. And that means I can now tax quite a bit, get quite a bit out of here. And then in the next turn, can either try to attack the guy here, although I then risk to lose this great leader here. It's always better if you use your strengths, because then he's harder to kill, which is kind of weird. And maybe if I survive that campaign, I then can really try to improve my country and maybe can build a few fortresses or try to do some diplomacy to gain some claims or whatever. That is all possible now with these great values here. So I'm going to tax the stuff and then go to the next player. And again, a leader died heirless, this time the King of Verona. And we saw a rebellion in Lombardy, which is once again a pretty big disaster for this guy. Tuscany is also wrecked, and he has a leader now with a combat rating of 1, administration 2, and then a 3 here in diplomacy. At that point, these guys could even consider another attack. I mean, these areas are so poor. On the other hand, you know, why bother? They're busy dealing with their own empire, I guess. So I think for now, this guy might survive. Although this area is tempting, and it is possible that the Muslim player will grab Provence. It's so weak, and yeah, maybe he's gonna take it. Also, bad news for the blue player here. His leader also died heirless, and he lost Smolensk, where his court was actually, and the unrest is gone. And this Ryazan, or I'm not sure how this is pronounced. So Kiev is now isolated. He cannot even rule there. He's got to take back, for example, Smolensk first, before he can then rule in Kiev. So the guy tried to retake Ryazan, wasn't successful. He ended up with a terrible leader, combat rating 1, 5, 2. So he wasn't doing too great here. and also the leader died, although not heirless, of the German Empire, and he had this clown here, a 2, a 2, a 1, and a 2. That might have been one of the worst guys we had until now. And yeah, he also didn't achieve too much, obviously. I'm gonna finish here. I'm gonna load this up, and I made a decision. I mean, sooner or later, it was pretty obvious that this would happen. I will continue the game till the end of this century, and then it's the year 1100, and by then I think I'm gonna call it. I was struggling for quite a while now. I wouldn't say that I don't enjoy it at all, but it feels like there is just not much happening overall. And if I explain this now, if I do it on camera, I think it's much more interesting, at least I hope, than if I play it by myself, because I just show the kind of interesting things. And I guess you're still bored by that, so you can imagine how playing this actually feels. You know, it's much worse than just watching this shit. Okay, anyway, I think, yeah, as I said, I want to bring the century to an end. I don't know, I just feel obliged to do that, and therefore it will still take a few rounds and also a few videos. So hope to see you in the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.